The Prime Minister expressing disappointment in Baha Mar's delayed opening and is demanding answers. I'm Clint Watson. The story's ahead in the Bahamas tonight.
Stiffer penalties to be put in place to protect residents and the environment.
Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, Carnival organizers say the show will go on, sunshine or rain.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Everyday.
The nation's chief expressing serious concern about the Baha Mar opening delay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
And I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Christie revealed that he has met with Baha Mar principals and has expressed concern over these delays. And as Clint Watson tells us in this ZNS News exclusive, the nation's leader was transparent in his views on what this delay means for Bahamians.
Prime Minister the Right Honourable Perry Christie says he's not pleased with the delayed opening of Baha Mar and is demanding the resort identify a date when its operations will begin.
Well, we're very concerned that it hasn't opened yet. I had meetings yesterday with Mr. Sarkis Ismailian, and with China Construction. And the question was, when are you going to open? Mr. Ismailian had certain concerns that took him to China to meet with the Export-Import Bank and to meet with the leadership of China Construction. The government of the Bahamas is deeply concerned about the continuing delays, and we are working, I think, assiduously to try to bring some resolution to the challenges that exist out there.
Mr. Christie is deeply concerned regarding the thousands of persons hired at Baha Mar whose employment are now on the line.
Because we know that 2,000 young Bahamians were on the payroll, and we know the first casualty will be them before the delays. And so we told China Construction that we will resume our meetings on Wednesday when we get back, and I indicated to Mr. Ismailian that I will keep him informed as to the progress I'm making with China Construction, and that is with respect to getting some kind of final date as to when it will be completed. But there are major concerns with respect to the continued problems out there.
Despite this major setback, though, Mr. Christie still remains optimistic that Baha Mar will still be able to do what it was intended to do.
We believed, and it's subject to airlift, but we believed that we knew, for example, that Atlantis would be Atlantis. And we knew that even over there, the Warwick Hotel was sort of going through renovations, and it was going to represent itself. And so Paradise Island was going to be a destination in itself. And so the concern was, how do we go about getting Baha Mar opened? How do we go about getting Baha Mar to appeal to a different clientele so that we can actually have a win-win situation where both properties prospering as opposed to competing against each other. And so that was the whole idea of it, and the continued delay brings a major negative across the screen here for us. And so that's why we're working with the construction company and the Ismailian family with a view to bringing a resolution to the challenges that have confronted them.
And although the focus is heavily on Baha Mar, the Prime Minister says there still remains a number of other investments unfolding in the country that should generate new jobs.
And the idea is that things are going well in the Bahamas. We see that in Freeport now. We see that in all of the islands in the Bahamas. We're about to make major announcements next week with respect to another major hotel chain and another major resort development coming to the Bahamas. And so we're feeling very good about it, but we know that the key really is Baha Mar being able to come online and to open and to cause people to be employed. That is critical to the economy of the Bahamas. And so you are right to ask me that question, and I'm right to be concerned about it.
Mr. Christie says once he returns back to the capital, he expects to continue those meetings with Baha Mar and will not stop until he gets an opening date. In Las Vegas, Nevada, Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Government will soon table legislation to strengthen environmental protection in the country and set guidelines for the management of environmental disasters. The legislation comes on the heels of increased criticism over the handling of the 2012 Texaco oil spill. Minister of Environment, the Honorable Kendra Dorset, discussed the bill with Cleopatra Murphy and how the spill is being used as a political volleyball.
Government is putting in place provisions to increase environmental protection in the country that would mandate the public being notified immediately of any environmental accident that could impact their health and set stiffer penalties for environmental disasters. The provisions are part of the draft Environmental Planning and Protection Bill 2015, released by the Ministry of Environment and Housing. Minister of Environment and Housing, the Honorable Kendra Dorset, discussed key aspects of the bill that includes a concentration on planning.
Ensuring that when it comes to land use planning, not only sustainable issues but environmental issues will be factored. There will also be the issue of a need for environmental impact assessments as a matter of law and plans advanced to mitigate that. There are going to be significant penalties associated with infractions.
Penalties could be up to $100,000, and Dorset said he is willing to go even higher. Government has come under fire in recent weeks because it did not immediately release a Black and Veatch environmental report on the 2012 Texaco oil spill impacting Marathon residents. Minister Dorset says the report revealed that another spill occurred at the same station 20 years ago and nothing was done. Dorset says that in light of the latest incident involving the now Rubis, the legislation is vital.
I think it's important for us to use it as a tool to build greater capacity within the public service. And more importantly, as I said, we will advance regulations to ensure that sectors that have really been self-regulated in the past now will be made to account at a higher international standard.
Minister Dorset says government regrets that the report on this bill was not released sooner, but he is disappointed the discourse on the leak has become politicized, taking away from the residents who were impacted.
So notwithstanding the delay in the release, we acted on those recommendations. And I think that really is the important message that needs to be communicated. I think that we really diminish the significance and the importance of having these opportunities to have dialogue with the people who are significantly impacted. And that's the people of Marathon.
With the bill also comes the creation of the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection. It would oversee environmental protection standards, environmental emergency programs, and training.
We are creating our own EPA, our own environmental watchdog that will be out there to make sure that we do not compromise when it comes to advancing regulations to protect our environment.
While government is moving forward to ensure the remediation of the 2012 spill is addressed, it is looking at the impacts of the historical spill to assess people impacted. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
GB Millwork was a popular business in Grand Bahama, but last year it closed due to a number of pressures. The official report from the liquidators for Clico Enterprises has been released, and tonight Jimmy Swain takes a look at it and tells us why the pressure was so great at GB Millwork.
GB Millwork and Building Supplies Limited sold hardware, lumber, home supplies, and other building supplies, and we now know from the official liquidators report that it closed because of pressure from creditors and an inability to pay its licensing fees with the Grand Bahama Port Authority. In the report of the official creditors to the Supreme Court, official liquidator Craig Tony Gomez said GBM suspended its operations. In the report, Gomez wrote that at the end of June last year, he met with the attorneys where they discussed the payment of GB suppliers, the cancellation of the licensee by the port, and the payment of staff salaries and severance. The hardware and building supply store was a major asset of Clico Enterprises that received advances from Clico Bahamas in the amount of $73.8 million. It was revealed that Clico Enterprises had an agreement to manage GB Millwork for 99 years, and Clico Enterprises became the owner of certain assets of GBM. Gomez, in his assessment, explained that GB Millwork is currently experiencing liquidity issues and creditors of GBM are now threatening legal action. He continued that he is currently reviewing the matter with a view to temporarily suspend the company's operations. With mounting pressure, the license for the company was subsequently suspended last May. Gomez said at the time of the report, GBM's store operation had been suspended and all matters related to the closure of the store are being addressed, which includes outstanding license fees due to the Port Authority. The liquidator said in accordance with the injunction, he is continuing approval and authorization to pay all expenses of GBM. Clico Enterprises had a number of assets, including GBM and other properties, which, as the liquidation moves forward, the executors will seek fair value for the sale of real estate and other properties. This latest report was up to June 2014. This is a story we will continue to follow. Jiminita Swade, ZNS Network News.
A major conference comes to the Caribbean for the first time, and it's right here in our own backyard. Find out more coming up.
And in sports, more highlights from the IAAF BTC World Relays. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by the new Shell and Let It, designed for extra miles.